It's one of the most iconic moments in the history of golf. The locale, the 18th hole on the stadium course at the Players' Championship. The opponent had won 10 of his previous 16 starts. The golf world was looking for someone who could tame a tiger.
Be the right club.
And with a 6-iron from 179, the moment was born.
Be the right club.
Welcome to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters.
Be the right club today.
Now, here are your hosts, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhouse.
Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters. Hal Sutton, Mark Greenhouse. Hal, you're back again this week.
I am. I usually get a week off, but because I'm going to Santa Fe on a vacation next week, we're doing 2 in a row here.
Well, there you go. Todd Burrell will be back next week. It actually worked out perfect because Todd's gone this week and you're gone next week. So y'all just flip-flopped and away we go.
All right, perfect.
So on tonight's episode, I want to get into a couple things. I want to talk about Ryan Fox winning his first major championship at the Open Championship. I want to talk about your thoughts about what you saw in terms of how Royal Birkdale played and the conditions and the setup. And then, of course, you know, we have that giant elephant in the room, one Bryson DeChambeau and his 2-stroke penalty on Friday of the Open Championship. Not only the penalty, but some of the reactions. So I want to get your take on that as well. I have some of my own. I think we might end up being in the same place on that, but I want to get your take. So first off, Ryan Fox winning his first major championship, 39 years old, birdied the last hole. What was your impression of Ryan Fox over the 4 days?
Tremendous. I loved it. He won the British Open. No one gave it to him. Here's what I'm going to say. And all of this is meant to be positive. You know, Ryan is 39, first of all, and not the perfect physical specimen that everybody thinks that a professional golfer has to be now. And he doesn't have the perfect golf swing. It's perfect for him, and I want to make that point. He is who he is. He plays fast. Boy, did American golf need to see that, how fast he plays. So, you know, I'm a big Sam Burns fan. I would have loved to have seen Sam Burns win, but here's the truth. Sam Burns is a great player, and he's going to win. And he gets closer and closer all the time. And, I think golf needed Ryan Fox to win this tournament.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I wanted to mention too, is that 2 of our 4 major champions, to me, and let me present it to you this way. You said he won it, and I think Aaron Rai did the same thing when he won the PGA Championship. These guys both played. Now, Aaron Rai almost played a flawless back nine. Ryan Fox hit a lot of great shots. Some of them ended up in some pretty bad spots, and it didn't bother him at all, but he continued to keep the pedal down, and he really tried to win that. And to your point, he took 22 seconds from the time Sam Burns' ball came out of the hole by Sam to knock that putt in. 22 seconds to win the tournament on 18. That is phenomenal. And both of those things, to your point, I think both guys played to win and weren't playing to hang on and not lose.
I would 100% agree with that. I think, I couldn't believe how fast Ryan hit some of the shots. The shot he hit out of the bunker on 17, that was a tough spot to be. And he had it figured out, knew what he wanted to do, and he got in there and did it, and all the shots that he hit were phenomenal.
Now, let's talk about that under pressure, whether it's a regular tour event, for our amateur friends, if it's a big time amateur event, if it's your club championship, your club member guest, the Open Championship. how did you prevent those thoughts? And honestly, for me, Ryan Fox playing that quick to me eliminates the opportunity for bad thoughts to creep in because he is playing quick. He's picking a shot and he's going with it. He's not taking a minute and a half to hit a shot to let some bad things creep in. But how do you manage that pressure? How does somebody like him, do that? How did you manage the pressure?
Well, he was himself. He didn't where he would have probably run into a problem if he would have tried to dot every I and cross every T and double check everything, because that's not who he is. He made up his mind and then got in there and did it. And he didn't have time, to your point, to overanalyze, create another thought. So he went with his first thought, and honestly, we'd all be better off if that's what we did. We'd go with our first thought.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me that my brain does get in the way if I just let my body take over and everything, the muscle memory take over. I hit a lot of better shots. When I start thinking too much about shots, they become a problem. And you start thinking of, and here's the great part. I don't know if you saw this, but Smiley Kaufman on the Golf Channel went back out, put the ball in as much of the closest spot as he could do, and his putt, Hal, didn't come within 3 balls of the left corner of the hole. So he didn't even come close to making it. And Ryan Fox knocked that bad boy right in. It's amazing to watch something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but that doesn't surprise me. I played a lot of golf with Raymond Floyd early on, and he said, Hal, I really believe we can will things to happen on the golf course. And, I thought Ryan missed that putt to the left when he hit it. And it kind of snuck in the hole there. And, there were times that I felt like the ball moved the opposite direction when I was playing because I wanted the putt so bad. So I'm not 100% sure that Raymond wasn't right about us being able to will some things to happen.
And he might have a thing there because I know there have been times in my career, and I'm sure you just said it the same thing, that there were certain shots that you just felt like, I got this, and you hit the exact shot that you wanted to, and it came out perfect. And part of obviously a lot of that's execution, but sometimes it is just mind over matter.
It is just mind over matter. If you can simplify things, which is what it looked like to me Ryan Fox did. He had simplified everything as much as he could. He didn't give that second thought a chance to, resonate in his mind. And did my heart good to see him win the way he did.
Yeah, and Cam Young obviously set the bar for everybody. And I don't know about you, but when Cam Young first finished, I was like, well, I have a feeling that bogey on 18 is gonna maybe cost him a playoff. But then again, maybe he needed to birdie 18 to get into a playoff. I kind of felt I was torn there. What did you think when Cam Young finished? Did you think that he had a shot?
I thought he had a shot, but honestly, he made a heck of a bogey, and I don't think I would have hit the shot that he did. I don't think I'd have tried to get it to the green. He'd done all he could. I knew that getting it to the green out of that bunker and getting it over that lip was going to be tough for him. And, he was pushing. He was speeding when he did that. He had his foot on the accelerator as hard as he could. And, there's no reason to second guess that. He'd have probably made bogey if he laid it out there, He might have had a chance to make par, though, had he laid it out. Had a 50 or 100-yard shot into the green.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess you would maybe consider that a lesson learned, right? Is that, when you're in a position to post a number that, might have a chance, try and post the best number that you can. But if you don't want to make a mistake and go backwards.
Well, he actually got lucky. That ball could have ended up in a lot worse spot than it did.
Oh, yeah.
And, so we could second guess this all the way. I'm sure that that Cameron is probably sitting there thinking, you know what? If I had it to do over again, knowing the way everything, I'd have probably hit it out in front of the green and took my chances on getting it up and down. But we don't get second chances, and he might not have another chance to win the British Open, and he was taking every chance that he could to win the British Open.
Yeah, it was interesting. I want to kind of transition over to the golf course and Royal Birkdale. And I don't know about you. My first impression was, again, I think the R&A versus the USGA, and I go back to Shinnecock. If the USGA had just let Shinnecock play the way that the R&A let Royal Birkdale play, I think we'd all been better off.
Well, I'm not sure the R&A let Royal Birkdale play the way it could have played, because you don't ever see short iron spinning backwards in the British Open.
Yeah.
And the first 2 or 3 days, we saw that all the time. Those greens were holding incredibly well. And I don't remember any British Open like that. So I think they were fearful that the golf course, no rain, and it could get out of hand. And they tried to keep that from getting out of hand. It cost them. They had 362 shot.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, Birkdale's not the kind of golf course you shoot 62 on. So, again, R&A could, second guess what they did too. But it's over, and they got a great champion, and, it's all good.
Well, I mean, and they don't mind the brown. Obviously you got some water that went down on the tees, to your point, water went down on the greens, but everything else was as it was. I mean, they didn't try and really water rough. I mean, it was to the point where, you could see in some runoff areas that there was a little funnel, and there'd be like a little triangle of green where you could see the water would have run off to the back of the green, and everything else around it was brown. So yeah, you could see they did put a little bit of water down, but they didn't mind 10 under winning that thing, I in my opinion, and I don't mind that either.
Well, no, I don't mind it either. 10 under is not a tremendously low score. 62s are low scores.
Yeah.
And you don't see much of that in major championships, So, and then to see 3 of them, that's pretty low.
But it was interesting that all 3 of those, and even, you could almost say Cam Young's 64, all of those came in the right conditions, where the wind was down, and the 62s in the morning versus the low score in the afternoon, there was probably a 6-shot difference potentially in the low score in the afternoon versus the morning, maybe 5-shot difference.
Well, that's typical of British Opens because everybody goes off the first tee. So, weather can really be a disadvantage or an advantage in the British Open, depending on which segment you're in. So, again, low scores in the morning, higher scores in the afternoon, because the wind basically was not a factor like it could have been.
Right. And, and you've mentioned it. I mean, we've talked about low scores in major championships before. I still have to go with Johnny Miller at Oakmont being the best round in a major that, I mean, I was, I was a baby at that point, but just seeing highlights and whatnot, I feel like that is that's the bar for me. Where is it for you? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the bar. I had the pleasure of playing with Johnny Miller in '83 when it was the 10-year reunion of his 63 at Oakmont. The U.S. Open was at Oakmont in '83 as well, and I was paired with Johnny Miller. So he didn't come close to it in '83. So anyway, it was fun talking to him about it as we played around, though. He shared some of the things that happened from his perspective, and that was kind of fun to hear.
Well, and when I was doing my research about the 73 U.S. Open, I found something that I think very few people might actually realize, because of obviously Johnny Miller shooting 63, But Lanny Watkins shot 65 and he bogeyed the last hole.
I didn't know that. And I'm surprised because Lanny tells me everything that he does good. I mean, I love Lanny, but Lanny's biggest fan. So
yeah, he started the day +5 and he was 2 under. He was 7 under for the day, sitting on the 18th tee box, and he made bogey on the last hole. With him going out at that point, being 2 under with 1 hole to play, he might have actually been in the lead or tied at that point, because Johnny Miller didn't get to 3 under until the 12th hole. John Schlee was 4 under through 12. Arnie was 3 under through 12. Lee Trevino and Weiskopf were also 3 under through 12. So Lanny, standing on the last tee box, probably felt like he needed a birdie to have any shot.
yeah, and sometimes that results in bogeys.
Yeah.
18 at Oakmont, pretty hard hole too, though.
Yes. Well, let's put it this way. Anybody that finished in the top 8, Lanny bogeyed it, Arnie birdied it, and everybody else made a par.
Yeah.
So a lot of good finishes on that hole.
Yeah.
And going back to mindset. So, do you remember your mindset at Sawgrass with that 6-iron in your hand on 18 in 01?
Yeah, I remembered. I had the perfect yardage. I walked up. Freddie and I both got the exact same yardage. We always did the yardages together, and he and I had the same yardage. It was a perfect 180. It was a stock 6-iron for me. I knew I didn't have to let up on it, and I knew I didn't have to try to step on it. So I hit it pretty quick, actually, because nothing to think about. Just do it.
It was Monday. You had to catch a flight.
Yeah, they were waiting on me. We weren't leaving until I said, let's go.
There might have been a Monday outing somewhere, right? I mean, that's what always happens. There's a Monday outing you got to go to somewhere.
A lot of the time. I don't think I had one that Monday, though. So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and you talk about, a lot of low scores. And I think one of the things, and I talked about this on our radio show on Saturday morning, is the big thing for me was the way this golf course was set up. You had, guys like Rory and Bryson that were in the mix in one way or the other. Scotty Scheffler's a long hitter. Obviously, those two guys are the longest hitters. But it really, to me, came down to, the old adage of you drive for show and you putt for dough. Because when you start looking at the putting statistics, I mean, Ryan Fox strokes gained putting for the entire 4 days of the championship plus 8.38. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. He earned it. In every aspect, he earned it. So he made critical putts on Sunday that he had to make. And he made them.
Yeah, and and Scotty Scheffler, I mean, coming up, obviously a couple shots short, but he was trying to make a move. It just never seemed to materialize. And the putter really what let him down. I mean, I just told you 8.38 to the good for Ryan Fox, 1.27 to the bad for Scotty Scheffler. So when you just compare him to Ryan Fox, I mean, we're talking 9.5 shots difference on the greens, and he only lost by 3.
Yeah. Scotty he didn't have enough close putts. He had a lot of, 15 and 20-foot putts. Just couldn't get it in there close enough to make them, and that happens sometimes,
Well, and I want to ask you about Scotty, because to me, Scotty's been the very, he's been the controlled guy. You don't get a lot of emotion out of him, whether he's winning or losing. He's that guy one of those guys that, if you see him on the 7th hole in the 3rd round or the 2nd round, just randomly, you don't know whether he's winning or losing. But yet, especially at the Open Championship, I saw frustration out of him. Do you think it's the frustration of his game? Is it the frustration of the expectations? Is it the frustration of having to answer questions of why you're not winning more? Or is it all these things rolled up into one? Because there were some times where we saw some reactions out of him that I don't think we've seen before.
Well, I can tell you it's all of it rolled up into one.
Yeah.
He's playing great. He's not quite playing to the level that some think he should be playing at. They're reminding him of it, and he's tired of listening to it. He's putting forth all the effort that he can. And at some point, you want to say, well, if you think y'all can do better, come on. And, I mean, he's frustrated, and I've seen it for the last 5 or 6 weeks out of him. And, I remember, in 83, they kept labeling me. And, I mean, they didn't think that I was living up to their expectations. And every week you'd go in the press room and you'd be reminded of it by someone or more than one of what's going on. Why aren't you winning more? I mean, winning is tough. It's hard. And, sometimes the media acts like it's no big deal. You've been doing it. Do it some more. And, it's very tough. And I can tell you this, the stars have to line up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not all just what you do. Sometimes it's a break here or a break there or someone else's misfortune at the right time. There's a lot of factors that go into winning.
Yeah, I hear you there. And you mentioned Sam Burns earlier. I was pulling hard for Sam. I still felt like that back at Shinnecock or so I should say last year at the U.S. Open, that, I felt like he got a bad ruling on the casual water and it may have cost him the tournament. And now he's continuing to put himself in contention in these big events. And I mean, obviously he had a lot going on, the birth of a child. Maybe that's the point of some lowered expectations, the last minute of, being able to go and not having much expectations and how well he played. And again, I think that he represented himself well and his composure was amazing.
I can't say enough good things about Sam. He handles himself very well. He's a great player. He is the physical specimen that we were talking about earlier. He is what people want to be, that aspire to be on the PGA Tour. Good golf swing, could have been a linebacker, could have been a tight end, whatever. Hits it a mile, very poised, doesn't get too high and doesn't get too low. He's going to win multiple times.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I want to remind everybody about Makefield putters. Go to makefieldgolf.com. Check out all of the different styles, the mallets, the new blade. The radial cusp technology allows you to make a better equator strike, reduce skid effect, definitely making more putts. They got the weight system. When I was, I think I told everybody last week when I was down with Todd Burrell that I was putting with the blade putter, adjusted some of the weights out to the toe, made the toe a little bit heavier to stop me from doing the old toe hook with the putter, Hal. And lo and behold, every putt that I hit started on line, and a lot of them went in the hole. Came down to more of a read at that point as opposed to a stroke flaw. And that blade putter just feels so good. I mean, the mallets feel good, but that blade putter, it felt and sounded phenomenal.
I like it a lot. Maybe Scotty Scheffler ought to get it.
Scotty Scheffler, Brooks Koepka. There's a few people out there that we could probably recommend getting the Makefield blade putter going.
Yeah.
I still feel like that if Brooks could actually make some putts, he might win a tournament here before the season's out. But also want to remind everybody about Peak Vision. See like you've never seen before with Peak Vision sunglasses. The difference is immediate. So make sure that you use the promo code GS15 at peakvision.com. And also make sure you head out to BeTheRightClubToday.com. Check out all the podcast episodes and check out our great merchandise we have for sale there. And buy some of that stuff today.
You hit at least 18 putts around, more like low 30s. So you better make sure you got the right putter in your hand. And I don't think people have spent enough time trying to make sure they have that. Hi, I'm Hal Sutton. 25 years ago, I had the right club at the right moment, and it made a huge difference. Today, I've teamed up with Makefield Putters. I now use the right putter today. You see, Makefield has unique radial cusp technology. The ball releases faster off the face and keeps the ball rolling more on its axis. The result is a straighter putt, more on target. When you get everything just right, the putter that fits you just right, the one that you believe in, your confidence should be oozing out of you. So I would encourage all consumers, go to the Makefield website and educate yourself and get fitted correctly, get the right putter in your hand, and there's hope for better putting ahead.
Golf is challenging enough. Between the sandbagging bandits, the wind, rain, and your homemade swing, it sometimes feels impossible. You need a legal 15th club. You need Peak Vision sunglasses. 4 to 5 hours of protection against glare and ultraviolet light with clarity as clear as crown glass. That's Peak Vision sunglasses, your secret 15th club, giving you one less obstacle to overcome. Just one try is all it takes, and the price is less than national brands. Use the code GS15 at peakvision.com. All right, welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters. Hal, I mentioned his name a few minutes ago. Bryson DeChambeau, he's the gift that keeps on giving sometimes. I don't know, did you see the infraction on Friday live, or did you have to catch it on replay?
I had to catch it on replay. So,
yeah, it was funny. I was watching his group on a one of the featured groups broadcast.
yeah.
And I saw where he hit the tee shot, and I was like, oh, man, he's going to be lucky if he can actually, get a club on that thing where that thing ended up, let alone find it. And then I saw the shot in the air after he hit it. I didn't see any of the in-between stuff. But the moment I saw the camera angle at the ball, and I saw the initial takeaway, I saw him kind of nick a strand of the tall grass going back, and then I saw him walk, get in behind the ball, and then I saw him come back, and I saw him take that same little half swing, and it wasn't anywhere near the grass anymore. I thought it was a problem.
So you're asking me what I think?
I'm asking you, when you saw that, your first impression when you saw that replay, what did you think?
I honestly felt like he had improved his backswing.
Yeah.
And he stomped around in there, and, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Bryson is looking for views. He's looking for YouTube followers and everything else. So everything's a big deal to Bryson. And, I'll call the president. I don't know. Someone said he said, I'll call the president. It's we're all afraid to say what we think. He improved his backswing. Whether he did it accidentally or whether he did it on purpose, that could be debated forever and ever and ever. And you or I, neither one are going to know the actual truth on that, So, but the truth is, by the rules, he improved his backswing.
Yeah.
And therefore, 2-shot penalty.
Yeah, it's always an interesting thing, and I've been trying to explain to people that have asked me this on various shows, and you're kind of in an odd spot in certain situations. I explain it. You hit a tee shot into the trees, and most of us don't play Augusta National where they trim there's no bushes. They trim the trees up. There's no low-hanging branches. We hit it in the trees. There's bushes. There's limbs. There's, pine needles hanging, trees hanging down and leaves and all this stuff and bushes. And I explained to people that, the expectation is that, yes, you have the right to take your stance. That doesn't mean that you can, knock bushes or branches or things out of the way to get in there. You have to be very careful getting in there to take a stance. when you're taking your practice swing to see if you're going to hit anything. If you take a backswing and you hit the tree and a piece of bark falls off, it's a penalty.
That's right.
If you take a swing and one leaf falls off, if one pine needle falls off, it's a penalty. You can't do the normal things. You can't do your normal routine. You can't stand 7 yards behind the ball and walk into it to hit your shot. There's a whole different set of circumstances that you have to take into play. And I'm with you. I think it was unintentionally, the best way I could say it, Hal, unintentionally intentional in what he did. He was intentionally doing some of his routine, and he, intentionally took his routine and he unintentionally improved his lie, maybe in his brain. That's the only thing that I can come up with.
Well, I'm not really going to try to come up with anything. I think they made the right decision, and I think he didn't like the decision. And I think, Rory was, he held everybody up till about 10:30 that night before they actually did the pairings. And I think Rory was right. That was unfair what happened there. People need to go to bed. And I don't know. I could say more, but that's enough.
Well, and I think that's going to bring up the question too, that, the expectation is that Liv is going to fold. I can't see, I can't see these guys making. Liv may exist in some iteration, but it's not going to exist with the hundreds of millions of dollars that the likes of Bryson and John Rahm and even maybe a Tyrrell Hatton, a Dustin Johnson have gotten in the past. And it's probably going to be the point where those guys are going to have to decide if they want to tuck their tail and come back to the PGA Tour and, with their hat in their hands, or if they're going to continue to do other things in other ways. And to me, Bryson goes on that scale, is that I don't know if I'm the PGA Tour, if I care if Bryson comes back, because he's going to want to do his own thing. He's going to make a lot more views and he can make money doing his own thing. And I'm of the opinion that if that's what you want to do, have at it. We don't need you.
Well, I'll say this. Bryson is a needle mover.
He is.
He's a needle mover, and I suspect that the tour wants every needle mover that they can get to play the tour. You're going to get a lot with Bryson, as we're talking about here right now.
On both sides.
On both sides. But I think there's more viewers when Bryson DeChambeau's playing. And I can tell you that the hierarchy at the PGA Tour is thinking about that.
The old adage that all media is good media, all exposure is good exposure. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad.
Well, what may seem bad to you or I may not seem bad to the other guy. So it's all perspective. That's the best way I know how to put it.
50% of the people will watch him to try and pull for him to win, and 50% of the people will watch to see what he does next and
That's
fail.
Right. Exactly.
But then, and also is going to be, it's going to come to a point. I mean, we've seen Brooks Koepka have to go through what he's had to go through. Patrick Reed is still, I think he's about a month away from being eligible. And Henrik Stenson has made a joke that he's almost out of, purgatory to be able to go play in the Champions Tour. There's still that catch-22 that if you bring a John Rahm and a Bryson back, what restrictions do you put on them? You're going to anger, a lot of guys if you just let them walk right back in and pick up where they left off. There's going to have to be some penalties, whether it's monetary, whether it's the things that they can play in, what they're allowed to play in. We look towards 2028 when we're going to see a completely revamped schedule. We're going to see a championship series versus a challenger series. If these guys have to sit out for a year, if they don't get to play, on the PGA Tour in 2027 and have to sit out, they should not be eligible for the championship series. They should have to be in the challenger series.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about all this, Mark. The tour is for profit now.
Mm-hmm.
And There's equity holders in this new format that they've come up with, and all these young guys that are going to end up with equity in the tour, they should want those guys back because they're going to move the needle. And I mean, our egos sometimes don't want them back because we don't want to have to deal with them. But the truth is, the product as a whole could use them back. And I'm sure that's what the tour is going to be thinking about.
Well, it is going to be interesting.
Man, money, that's what's winning. And especially when private equity gets involved in it, which private equity is involved in it now. And, they're all about profit.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to continue to see a restructuring of how money goes as we get to 2028 on the PGA Tour. I mean, obviously, if you have two different series, you're probably going to see a sponsor for the championship series. You're going to see a sponsor for the Challenger series. Depending on how things go, there's going to be, if there's guys that can move from one to the other on some kind of, rotating list. I mean, we have the Aon top 5 and top 10. You're going to see a sponsor for those lists. So the sponsors opportunities are still going to be there. They just may be positioned differently. So again, it's going to come down to money. Who's willing to pony up for this exposure? Who wants this exposure? Some events may have some different, sponsors that go with them. And to your point, I think the charity piece is still lost in this.
I think I've said it several times on here. We don't hear the word charity very much anymore. And, if we're going to hear profit all the time, you can bet that those guys want DeChambeau and John Rahm and all that, because people are going to turn on the tube to watch them, and they're going to also go to the event. And that's just my thoughts. I bet we see it that way.
Yeah, I guess the only good news is that the players now, Hal, make so much money that from a tax perspective that it benefits them to have foundations that support charities themselves. So, the hope is that the less maybe that we talk about it on the PGA Tour side, maybe the more money from the players is going through that avenue. That's all that we can hope for.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Monday outings. All of those are about charity.
Yeah.
And, the charities win on those Monday outings, and hopefully they can get enough guys to do the Monday outings to where charities are still big winners.
Hey, I'll tell you, I don't know. Did you ever play in the CVS one up in Rhode Island?
Once or twice, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those can be great. I tell you what, as a teenager, well, I shouldn't even say. Well, I guess I was still a teenager. I would say I was 19 years old, probably, maybe 20 at that point. My dad was a head golf professional in Rhode Island at Alpine Country Club, and at that point, the format for that CVS event that was put on by Billy Andrade and Brad Faxon, they would take some of the local pros from around Rhode Island, and they would get to play, and the PGA Tour pros would play as well, and they would have 4 guys in a club pro and 4 guys in a tour pro, and they would play 9 holes, and then they would swap at who they played with. So I remember, I mean, I caddied for my dad in it, and I think he was swapping with Hale Irwin at that point. So, our guys played with my dad at 9 holes and then played with Hale Irwin. And I remember meeting Nick Price. Hal, I remember, and I don't know, you probably know Nick Price very well. I remember them getting Nick's bag out of the van from the airport, and they unzipped the cover on it. And I don't think you could fit another club inside that bag, Hal. There was more irons and putters and drivers in that bag than I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I do know Nick very well, and Nick tinkered around with his golf clubs all the time. So the fact that you said he didn't have any more room for any more clubs in his bag didn't surprise me at all. And, on another point, the Ronald McDonald House in Cleveland, Ohio, was a big similar event to the CVS where they had about 12 or 15 pros touring pros, and then they would have 12 or 15 local pros, and we would swap 9 holes. I played in that event probably 12 or 15 times. Great call, Ronald McDonald House in Cleveland. So,
Good stuff.
A lot of great charities out there.
Yeah, and like I said, I hope that we can keep a focus on that, and I hope that as we do this championship and challenger series, that maybe we get some weeks off where guys can go do more of this stuff, but that remains to be seen.
Well, they'll give us something else to talk about then.
It sure will. And as a matter of fact, thanks for joining us tonight. And Hal, have fun in Santa Fe. I'll catch up with you in a couple weeks, and we'll talk some more. We'll see if we have somebody else to bring on with us.
All right. I'll get somebody else. I've been talking to Steve Jones. I'm going to get Steve Jones to get on.
There you go.
Steve's a great guy, U.S. Open champion at one point, was assistant Ryder Cup captain when I was captain. So he'll be a great addition to get on the podcast.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, I want to remind everybody, check out Makefield Putters. Go to makefieldgolf.com and check them out. And that is the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters.
Thank you for listening to Be the Right Club Today with your host, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhalgh. Presented by Makefield Putters.
The preceding episode was a production of Moonlight Media Works in association with Walk Marketing.